Thank you for invitation. I'm honored to be here, and all the presentation I heard was very interesting and very inspiring for me. And now I would like to take you to the Poland, to the Central Europe, and I would like to present and tell some information about the Slavic amulets and show my presentation, interpretation and reflection about them. To analyze amulets from the early Middle Ages, we can use, of course, different sources, like, for example, written sources, but from this period, there are not too many chronicles and others written sources about amulets, and some of them you can see. The second kind of sources, they are ethnographical sources. The first one is Rudolf Catalogs of Magic from 13th century, and we can find here some accounts about amulets, then hair, ears, small feet, and many other items placed in the cradle. This was done to prevent children from crying. Rudolf also wrote about thorns, combs, claws of animals and birds, paws, talons, iron, fire, candles, smoke, nettles, salt, urine, brooms, knots, belts or straps, shirts, magic circles, stones, flowers, herbs, bushes and trees, black elder and thorn bushes used as amulets. In the other ethnographical, I think, sources, it's the sermons. And for example, the preachers from the 15th century note that amulets were sewn into clothes or worn on bare skin until they fell off, after which they were replaced with new ones. They were also hung around the neck, usually so they reached the hollow below the chest, and were called nawęzy. I should also mention about later ethnographical sources, especially from the 19th century, which are very useful for analyzing, to find analogies for archaeological artifacts. Most of archaeological artifacts come from settlements, strongholds, and cemeteries dating from 7th to 13th century. I pay special attention to artifacts from settlements and strongholds. The map of Poland will be useful for you because description under photos and another photos shows also information about from which part of Poland they came from, and most of the artifacts are known from the strongholds from western, sorry, and southwestern Poland, and connection with the Piast dynasty and their territory. And in my presentation, amulets, which I would like to discuss, should be understood as objects used in magical practice. Magic is a system of action directly connected to the people who practice it. A person acting in what is considered a magical manner does something to cause what they want, believing that it will produce this desired effect. However, a person describing this action may think that what the acting person does should not to cause these effects, or generally does not. Magic is thus a descriptive category recounting specific action belonging to the language of observers, not to performers of the action. It is likely that any object could serve as an amulet for protection against curses, spells, etc., provided it was appropriately used as fulfilled its purpose either once or repeatedly, as it was believed that an amulet would never lose its properties and power. Such a multi-use amulet was often passed down from generation to generation. Apotropaic objects included animal bones, cherry stone beads, different seeds, moss, belemnites, mica plates, originally strung on a cord, discs made of various materials, pendants on graphite slate, pine bark, lead, elder twigs, or coins. An amulet could also be an object shaped like a star, made of glazed clay or metal. Based on available ethnographic data, it can be assumed that this could be objects or plants with defensive qualities, for example, a sharp thorn needle, black thorn, white rose, hawthorn, juniper, thistle, and other objects with the pointed ends, like knives, axes, tusks, horns, claws, teeth, noisy, ringing, squeaking, clinking, rattling, and similar, shiny, sparkling stones, metals, glass, stinging, for instance, nettles, intoxicating, for instance, wild rosemary, bitter, for example, wormwood, repulsive, for instance, animal feces or manure. Amulets worn around the neck were often kept in the pouches and so-called kaptorga, small metal containers. In the early Middle Ages, amulet pouches were made of wool or silk fabrics of leather, while kaptorgas were made of metal like tin, copper, silver, or bronze. In pre-Christian times, the most common amulet crafted by human hands was the knot. The magic of tying and untying was employed at every significant life event. Burnt was primarily associated with fertility, hence its designation as Alcmene's magic. Archaeological material includes numerous examples of the knot used as protective measure. However, individual objects mentioned without ritual context do not fully reveal the essence of the magical practice. Findings of wreaths and their placement, suggesting protection of the home and its inhabitants, may exemplify the dual use of the knot, interwoven branches, and the circle round shape simultaneously. Rings, necklaces, and other items could also represent specific forms of knots. The motif of enclosure was often linked with the creation of an appropriated mark. The cross symbol was most frequently used for the purpose, blocking access to evil forces, and thus protection both the object and its owner. Ethnographic records show rituals associated with the cross symbol, which today are linked to the Christian culture, but likely reach back to pagan times. For instance, in pottery making, a potter had to make the sign of the cross over the wheel before beginning the work. The presence of the cross symbol as its variants of various early medieval artifacts indicates its widespread use. Spindle whorls, wooden horse toys, and horn casing were also marketed in similar ways. This is a few examples. The color red, frequently mentioned in ethnographical sources, was believed to have apotropaic significance. An example of this is seen in two woolen pouches from Gdańsk. One contained amulet made from a beaver incisor, a decorated amber cross fragment, and a bundle of red threads. The red color as a magical hue also appears on ceramic eggs, primarily associated with cemeteries and strongholds. Sharp artifacts were also used with apotropaic intentions, especially axes or knives. Rudolph's Catalogue of Magic mentions the use of an axe by midwives or the placement of iron objects in the bath after baptism. Such sharp iron items were likely used in protective magic during the early medieval period, as indicated by artifacts like miniature axes, small hammers, and tall hammers, which likely inherited the characteristic of the originals, combining magical power with the everyday function of cutting and chopping. These were crafted from various materials, including iron, copper, silver, wood, or amber. The circle and sphere, symbols of perfection, were fundamental features in the spatial ordering of the world. Creation a circle enclosed a space, protecting it from evil. Drawing a circular line around the home, yard, or field was believed to protect the interior and ensure prosperity. Although this act had an apotropaic value, a physically existent circle was considered even more effective. The circle shape found its use in apotropaic magic items, such as previously mentioned circular amulets. Spheres, symbolically connected to circles, also had apotropaic importance. A sphere as an infinitive sequence of circles was believed to possess an inherent separation of inner and outer realms, thereby supporting the effectiveness of magic acts. Objects with spherical shapes were used in apotropaic practices to symbolize the division between the world of good and evil, thereby restricting entry to malevolent forces. Ideal representation of spherical forms included eggs and their substitutions, like painting eggs and rattles, which, as a symbol of new life, could doubled the magical power. At times, vessel and other circular objects, such as beads, nuts, round seeds, and grains, fulfilled similar function. The particular protective role of eggs and painting eggs in houses and agricultural rituals is reflected in ethnographic records and written sources. Eggs were painted yellow, green, and black. Previously, they were colored red, blue, and black. Eggshells and ceramic eggs substitutes have also been found at archaeological sites, settlements, and strongholds. Ceramic eggs, sometimes containing a small stone, were glazed and features light-colored ornamentation with patterns such as clasping brackets and S-shaped symbols, wavy lines, straight lines, vertically oriented straight and wavy lines, horizontal lines interrupted by vertical grooves, intersecting lines, and the most common background color was green, so yellow, black, brown, yellow, green, dark green, light cream, pink, blue, and gray cream also appeared. The ornaments were primarily brown, but yellow, green, dark gray, red, black, yellow, green, and reddish brown were also used. The color scheme predominantly represented earth-related fertility and the realm of the dead, suggesting their use mainly in spring rituals. The ornamentation likewise symbolized fertility or the world of the dead. Noise-making objects also had apotropaic function. Silence and noise are two opposing states of the existence. Silence, as the antonym of ordered sound, is one of the basic, along with the darkness and stillness, metonymic representation of death. Likewise, noise, as chaotic wild sounds, belongs to another world. In the early Middle Ages, artifacts producing noise were very likely used more frequently. Archaeological sources reveal a variety of items that serve this purpose, including rattles, bells, bell-shaped pendants, and musical instruments like pipes, whistles, flutes, and other aerophones and audiophones. Their role at the time has not been definitely established by researchers, though some attribute them with functions, toys, or musical instruments based on ethnographic analogies. It is noteworthy that ceramical rattles of various shapes, such as nodular, bottle-shaped, pear-shaped, barrel-shaped, and egg-shaped, are also known from early medieval settlements and strongholds. Most items from this period were wheel-thrown or turned on the potter's wheel, produced similarly to pottery vessels. Nearly all specimens were crafted from white, well-fired clay, often adorned with incised, dimpled or wavy horizontal patterns, generally only on the upper part of the rattle. They were likely produced in local workshops. Their origin, like those of painting eggs, are sometimes linked to Kievan Rus.
Perfect.
Archaeological materials also include small bells as pendants with loops in spherical forms, egg shapes, pyramidal with a square base, semicircular or as flat rectangular pieces. These were primarily made from bronze, occasionally from silver. The cutout of the bottom is usually cross-shaped, though occasionally it appears as a vertical line. Some bells are decorated with ornaments on their lower end or central portion. They are found over a wide area and in a broad chronological range. And in the end, the archaeological material mentioned above indicates a diversity of objects used in protective magic. These rituals were repeatedly performed, possible reinforced with additional stronger magical formulas by using other words of gestures that are beyond the reach of archaeological methods. It is likely that protective rituals are interwoven into the daily and festive life of residents in medieval settlements and strongholds. And thank you for your kind attention.